4, 3, 2, 1. We're actually live.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Well, here we go. It's the man that promises you nothing and delivers. It's the veritable man motor mouth. It's Road Woods who feels the need to call himself Robb Vega. It somehow makes him feel important. Anyway, do have a listen and try not to throw up.
You gotta love your impression of the Queen.
Every time I see that,
Yeah.
I think to myself, that's actually pretty accurate. It's definitely a narcissistic trip for me. Yeah, it is. It definitely adds to my sense of self-importance. There's no question
Well, there you
about
go. I'm glad we're here to help you once a week.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, okay, so when I reminded myself that we were going to be doing this today, I thought I should probably get my head around something that's remotely interesting.
Sure.
And I thought I went all around the park, things I could moan about, things I could be happy about, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, it took me to a place, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But I just wanted to say I got there via the concept of Vaguely News, which is kind of what this show is about.
Right.
And the whole thing behind Vaguely News, which is what I do, or Vaguely True, or whatever we want to call this thing.
Yeah.
The Vaguely News concept, obviously it comes out of my stage name, but it was born out of the idea, could I just bitch about stuff? No one wants to do that. No one wants to do that. That's easy. Anyone can bitch about anything. That's not particularly bright. What is more intelligent, and which is probably the fuel for a lot of comedy, is to try and find something funny about that. Or maybe you can think of a fix, or an imaginary fix, or a hypothetical fix. If only this could happen, or what if that happened, and that really is what the whole Vaguely News thing is about. I just wanted to say that because it leads me to my thought that I want to do. We can shoot out today, and that is, so we just had an election in this country. We had, in fact, everybody around the world seems to be having elections this year. 2024 is the year of elections. The UK, right. France, freaking India, you guys, everyone is electing all kinds of people. But what is interesting is what a mess the whole thing is. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. So here, we're now in coalition territory. We don't have a majority government anymore for the first time, which is bad and it's good.
Okay.
Because I don't think one party should run everything. I don't think people are all, we're not just some homogenous entity. So I think multiple parties is better. That's my personal opinion. That's what I'm saying. The whole dictator thing hasn't gone so well. So you need a spread of opinion, which is great. Okay, so we kind of in that territory here. It's new. We're virgin coalitionists, and I will say it's not all going well. Some of it's bad, some of it's good, but we need something new. So here we are. Okay. Now, when I look at you guys, I've always imagined myself as an American at heart. As my one friend said, he says, "You're like an American with a foreign accent." True. I think what America is about, no, it's not perfect, but it's probably one of the best, in my view, and this is not patronizing, one of the best social, economic, societal experiments that we've ever had. It's a new country like this one. It was a colony like this one. It was an outpost of the empire like this one, a lot bigger, but still out there. We're out there. We're down there. You're out there, and obviously the center of all this is the UK. But that being said, it's a very free country. Could it be freer? Sure. But you guys can bitch and moan and complain about Biden and Trump, and no one sticks you in jail yet. we kind of have that here too, which is quite encouraging. Believe it or not, you can moan a lot about leaders here. Now, here's the thing: you can't do that in a lot of parts of the world. So you have to be grateful for that. Is it perfect? No, I'm not saying it's perfect. Now that gets me to the point that I wanted to raise. Why is it so screwed up? You've got 300 million plus people there, talented people, bright people, $1 trillion, millions and trillions of dollars of economy. And then you end up with those two candidates. Now, it's extraordinary to a lot of people in America and outside America. We have shitty candidates here too. Trust me, believe me. I see your candidates and I raise your eyes.
Right.
The UK, wow. Have you just seen what's happened there politically? What a joke, right? The extraordinary. Then you've got France, where the right wing nearly came in and then they did a whole shenanigan thing and averted that disaster. So you've got all these political cock-ups going on around the world. And the question is, how did we get there? Why are our leaders so shitty? What is going on? And I think, this is what I think we should do.
Okay.
And I'm sure you raised before, Steve, qualified vote. I don't think everybody is qualified to vote. Now, before everybody loses their shit over this, in every population, you have a bell curve of IQ. Dumb,
right.
Average, really smart. That's true of most human abilities. So you've got people that can run. When you look at the Olympics, which are coming up, you watch the fastest people. They're talented. They got selected to be there, obviously. You don't want to slip. Not interesting. Singers. You're not going to. Yes, I know talent shows think that everybody thinks they can sing, but ultimately, only certain people are going to sell tickets because for the masses of people, that's entertaining. What else? You've got a surgeon. Not everybody can be a surgeon. It requires time. You've got to train, you've got to learn, you've got to be qualified. And you can't be a chef. Not everyone's beautiful. Not everyone's tall. This is just, these are facts.
Right.
Judge, we're all different.
Right.
Okay. So you're not going to eat everybody's food because, you know, not everybody knows how to cook.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is these are not things that are necessarily vital for survival, except for the surgeon. That's pretty vital. Okay. So, but in all these careers and all these things, entertainment, what you name it, lawyers, whatever you like, you going to a professional. These people have to be qualified to do that job. Yes. Okay. Now, I am saying that two things that are really vital for humanity, in my view, of course. Welcome to disagree. That's the beauty of this. Voting, the ability to vote. And it's not, and voting, by the way, in my view, is not just putting an X on a piece of paper. That's not voting. That's drawing an X on a piece of paper. It is not the same as voting. So there's voting and there's parenting, right? There's anybody can drop a seed and have a kid. Right. But can you be a parent? It's not the same thing. Fathering and parenting are not the same thing. You father a child, that's block one. Then there's a 99 other blocks to go, right? That's what I'm trying to say. So, but everybody does it. Everyone's a parent. Everyone makes babies. Everyone sort of votes. Right. And therein lies the problem. You got all these unqualified people making babies and voting. I know people are going to go, who gets to decide? We can get to that. But I'm saying if it was if you want to adopt a kid, you have to go through all this crap. Why isn't it the same for being a parent? You're bringing a human being, you're putting a human being in a family situation, whether you make it or you buy it, whatever. Buy it, you know, order it, apply for it. You know what I mean, right? It's the same thing. You are raising a kid. It's a mum, daughter, father, some mother, whatever it is, whatever your family unit is, and a child. But when it's an adoption, now we have security check, wellness check. But even unmarried people, anybody can just make a baby, and there's another kid. It's the same problem, same thing. They don't have to do anything. So anyone's making kids, and anyone is voting. And these two things define our society. What kind of people are we making, and what kind of people are we voting for? And it just seems to me that This seems to me, I know people are elitist. No, no. You want smart people voting, and you want smart, and you want caring. Not everyone should be a parent, by the way.
I agree.
Oh, hell no. Because they're just putting kids out. I don't have time. And if you put a child out there that you're not able to give your full attention and time and money to, you have created a problem human being. It's a gamble as to what the hell you have put on the planet. And we've all got to live with what you've put on the planet. So the parenting thing is a separate issue for another topic. But right now we're talking about the voting. I think there should be conditions for voting everywhere. And these are my conditions. And then you can fire back to me, Steve. You should have to prove your citizenship in that country. That you are, in fact, a citizen of that country. 100%. Passport will probably cut it, right? Not ID, because I've got an American driver's license, but I'm not a US citizen, so I can't vote there. Absolutely fine with that.
Okay.
If I had a passport, if I had a US passport, different story, but I don't. Now that should be everybody. You have to prove your citizenship, number one. Then the next thing, you have to prove your address. You can't be living out of a bucket in the street. Do you want the guy living out of a bucket in the street telling you who's going to run your taxes and your... No. No. You have to be able to prove your address, and then you have to have a tax number. And the reason why the tax number is important for me, or tax ID, or whatever it is, whatever country you're in, and you have a tax thing that says, I pay taxes. Cool. Now, you don't have to necessarily be employed. But at some point, you were employed and maybe unemployed, but you're now looking for a job. Okay. And you have paid taxes. You have contributed to that money pot. Okay. Because we are voting for the people that will run that money pot. And if you haven't contributed to that money pot, now I'll tell you why that's important. Because in this country, I think our tax base is 7% of the population. Okay. Okay. You can say, privilege and all that. Okay. But that 7% pay for everything. So if you're not paying taxes, if it's costing you nothing, right? You're more than happy to say, I want this, I want that, the government must give me that and that. Who pays for it? Where does that money come from? Right. If you are gainfully employed or attempting to be employed, remember I said you don't have to necessarily be employed, but you need to show intent to be a part of the economy or whatever. Or if you want to be trained, you see, we can get onto that. But that's what you need. You need people who are employed, who are trying to get employed, who are trying to be in the economy, in whatever shape, size, or form. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. Because my feeling is if you can't get your shit together, right, what gives you the right to vote for people who are going to run other people's shit? You haven't made good decisions. Now, before, sorry, Steve, one thing finally I want to say is, if, I'm sure this argument's been presented before and everyone is, I know what people are thinking because I've heard it before. But before you think, yeah, you're excluding everybody. No, no one's being excluded. Okay. Because if you are voting for people, if you are gainfully employed, you start thinking about, is my neighborhood safe? Is my job safe? Right. What training do I need? Because you're in the economy. You're not just going to want to exclude the rest of the population, because that would be idiotic. Now you're going to have a coup. So you are mindful. So you are going to vote possibly for people who want to train the other people. Let's extend the love. Let's extend the love. Because I'm employed, I want other people to employ. I'm not doing them a favor. I'm doing myself a favor. This, by the way, is self-driven. Let nobody tell you otherwise. This is totally self-driven for everybody, which is fine. If you are thinking of your correct self-interest, then you're going to vote for the right people. If you're worried about all kinds of other crap that doesn't affect you, of which you're no part, that's what I'm saying. And then perhaps we might get better candidates than what we have. So tell me how wrong I am.
Okay. First of all, in America, they do check your driver's license and do validate your that you're able to vote. You have to register it as a process. So to vote in America, you do have to show a form of ID, whether it's the new citizen's card or whatever they call it, driver's license, a passport, something with an address that they have to prove. So we already do that.
Okay.
The love thing.
Citizenship.
Not citizenship, because you can be a resident alien and vote in our country.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not okay with that. I think you need to be
I'm just saying that. So the other thing is about the love fest. I'm all for that, of course. So I'm going to start a party called the Love Fest Party, and we're just going to have orgies, and I'm good with that. And everyone's going to vote for me. The problem, not a problem, but the thing that you said. So here's the issue. One, the Constitution says if you're over 18, you can vote, blah, 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 blah. The fact that someone's not employed or whatever, and if you're employed, well, I don't know where to start with the people that are voting or the candidates. Most of the candidates are idiots. And we can see Dumb and Dumber are running for president. One's really dumb because he's not stepping down, and His Majesty is going to win. That full stop, we're done. Okay, this is it. So King Trump will be here as of January of next year. Congratulations, Democrats. You gave the presidency away because Joe Biden is either too old, too senile, or too proud to step down. And nobody has the balls to just say, listen, old man, shut the fuck up and get out of here. And Kamala Harris isn't going to win. You need like Michelle Obama and Gary Newsom. Maybe the Democrats have a chance, but their policies are so poor, and the Republicans actually do have better policies, that they really got to get their shit together. So, but once Trump comes in, we'll be a monarchy. It won't matter. Now, and Americans don't choose the president. That's all bullshit. It's the Electoral College. So if just say I win my party of love, orgies for everybody, 18 and over, and I run against Trump and Biden, and I get, out of 300 million possible votes, I get 150 million, and Trump and Biden each get 25 million. The Electoral College will pick the president, so it'll go to Trump. So it doesn't matter. Now, on the local level, I agree with a lot of what you said, that you should, if I'm worried about this, this, and this. My problem is that if someone's unemployed, you don't know if they're really looking for a job because they go, oh, I've sent resumes out on LinkedIn. Okay, well, then technically they're looking, right? So, and the guy living in the box, unfortunately or fortunately, because this country has just as much right to pick whether it's the mayor, the councilman, or the president as anybody else, which makes us a little different. So I like what you're saying. I just think you'd be flipping a lot of things here on it. I think if you want to do qualifications, I don't care if dead people vote. I want the qualifications for the candidates. I think to be, whether it's a city council person, I guess, and I don't mean I think that's the lowest level of politician there is, because then I guess it goes mayor and alderman and all this other crap, all the way up to the president and everything in between. I think they should be given a test. And I think you have to pass the test. I don't care that Trump is a felon. You want to be a felon and be president? I don't care. I don't care that, he allegedly had an affair. I don't care. I don't give a shit. But I do care that if you don't have a clue. So I think if you want to run for any office, there should be like almost a civil service test. You got to pass a basic test. You have to have a psychological thing done. And then you can run for the city council all the way up to the president, because this way, when we get these idiotic senators and Congress people that don't have a clue, first of all, what they're doing and no idea of the landscape of policy, and all they go is, I do whatever I'm told, I think that would negate that. So that would be what I would institute. Once again, I don't care who votes. My dog can vote. I don't care. But I want the people that are in charge to have IQ points and a cursory knowledge of the planet and world history, so they can make informed decisions. So I would look at it differently.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to be, anybody else watching, this isn't this is me throwing a stone into the lake.
Right.
So you need to understand that about me. I am creating a topic of discussion. I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I am presenting vaguely news, a hypothetical, which I think may or may not work. Okay, so I just want to be, anybody who's not sure of where I'm coming from. Okay. And the second thing I want to say is, this is not specifically targeted to the US. I am going to say this. I'm going to step out of character for a moment, and I'm going to say this, and I know people will disagree with me. When the US was founded 250 odd years ago, there were 13 states. It was a colony. Boom, there it was, down the east coast of the US. It was a relatively small territory. And the electoral college system made sense. You didn't want the big areas dominating the small areas. Absolutely. I get all that. If you look at the history, at that point. They didn't. They were coming out of a monarchy. We don't want a damn king in a big city telling the country folk what to do. I mean, that's a very simplified way of looking at it, but basically, I get that. Now, from being on the East Coast, that little strip of land from freaking sort of Maine territory down to just south of Virginia or whatever it was, now, boom, you've got this massive territory with millions and millions of immigrants and all kinds of people. The entire landscape has changed. Communication has changed. That big city crap, not really a big issue anymore. And I think, I personally think, it's just an opinion, and I think it's shared by many people there, I think it's an outdated system. I do. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's ridiculous. It's silly that in several elections, and I remember when Bush beat Gore, and I may be wrong on this, when Trump beat Clinton, Hillary, in both those scenarios, they lost they won the majority vote but lost the election.
Correct.
But by a considerable amount. What did Hillary win by? 2 million votes or something silly.
I think so. Yeah.
Something like that. And that is a problem when the minority start dictating to the majority. As much as you don't want that, you don't necessarily want the cities dominating the rural areas, but are we really that disconnected like we used to be? It's a much more connected world we live in right now. Not necessarily socially, but technologically, sure. So that's the first thing I want to say. That's just a side note on the electoral college system. But just getting back to and we could argue that the majority system isn't perfect either. In fact, that's kind of what I'm saying here right now. I'm not sure that that works either. When every Tom, Dick, and Sally goes into the shop and just says, this is what we're going to buy. Not everybody should be buying. You don't have everybody doing jobs, is what I'm saying. Not everyone is qualified to do everything. And I think when it comes to voting, this is I guess this is why we throw the stone in the lake, then it comes back, and then we fine tune the point. The point is, I don't think everybody, and this is no judgment on everyone. Not everyone knows everything. Not everyone is qualified to do everything. There's so much that I don't know, so much that you don't know. But voting is such an important thing that we all seem to be allowed to do. And I'm not convinced that everybody who goes into a voting booth is qualified to be doing that, because what they're doing is they're setting the political tone, the cultural tone for the country. These are the people that again you nominate to run your life, to ensure your security, your well-being, your protection, that things are done in your community. You elect these people. They have a mess. You're giving them the proxy to run your situation. That's what you're doing. It's an important decision. And I'm saying that most of the people that go in there, not just the state, here, everywhere, the UK, God, look at Brexit. I'm saying should they have been allowed to cast their vote? Yes, because the government said, please vote. Of course they had a right to put in X. Were they qualified to make a vote about whether the UK should be the EU or not? No, not at all. They were not qualified, but they were given the right to do that. I'm saying that is a mistake. So I just want to talk, I want to just highlight the Brexit thing for a minute. I tried to keep an objective view about that whole Brexit thing. I could see both sides of the argument. I could see why people would be scared of this and why people would be scared of that. But the Brexit thing is an interesting argument because the concerns that people had were valid. They were just knocking on the wrong door. They didn't know which door to knock on. Their leaders, those idiot leaders you spoke about, they said the problem that you have all comes from Europe. It doesn't. It came from 10 Downing Street in the UK. It wasn't a European problem. It was a British problem. We don't have control of our borders. Really? What the hell is it going to do with the EU? What I'm saying is that's an example of where leaders twisted a narrative to fit what they wanted. And the voters were too ignorant, not stupid, ignorant to know what it was that they were hearing. 10% maybe of people went, I know what they're saying. I know what they're doing. And that's true of every country. There's only like 10, 50% of people who really know what these idiots are about. And I'm saying if we could, not necessarily stop people from voting. Could we maybe filter down the voting process? So it's almost like this is delegating. It's almost like you nominate people to vote. That's what I'm saying. Maybe.
Yeah,
it's just a theory.
Yeah.
It's a theory.
The Brexit thing, I think, because people didn't take the time to read actually what was going to happen to what happened. Like the Financial Times did a story a couple months ago on a lady who owned a coffee shop that would send, and a tea shop as well. And, you know, she had clients all over Europe. And the minute Brexit happened, it became cost prohibitive. And she literally moved over to France. And now she does business that way. And if someone from the UK wants it, they have a little store in the UK that still sells it, but they have all their business. So they moved. So I think a lot of people didn't read it. All they saw was the bus that says you're going to get 300 million pounds. And they got all excited about that. And they're like, oh, I'm going to get 300 million pounds. And they didn't kind of read what was happening. So I think a lot of that, I think most voters are just, they don't care, they're ignorant, they're like, I'm just going to go what I'm told.
Which is understandable.
Right.
Which is understandable. Now,
yeah. And a perfect example is in Austin. And this is 2015 when I first had to be here. Uber was here, Uber illegally, right? And they were like, there was going to be a big vote. And if you voted yes, the way they wrote the proclamation, if you will, if you voted yes for Uber, that actually meant Uber can't be here. And if you voted no, that meant Uber could be here. It was the way they wrote it, right? And so I was like, I read the international stuff, but one of the guys was in my office and he was like, did you see this? And he pulled out whatever the local Austin paper is and we're reading it. I'm like, oh my God, this is hysterical. They've written it so Uber's going to lose. Now Uber's here because they did it properly and legal, but back then there was a big fight. But it was funny because they literally said, and whoever wrote it, I was like, is a genius. This guy knows people are stupid. And all they're going to do is, yes, I want Uber, click, and no, I don't want Uber, click. And they're not going to take the time to read the way the bill was written. And so I think like the yeses got like 82 clicks and they go, no Uber. And people are like, well, I voted yes. And they were like, did you read what it said? And it was like, whatever the Austin paper is covered it. And I thought it was interesting. The other thing here in America, and I'll just speak to our process really quick. We only really have two parties. We have the Republicans and the Democrats. I think that's an issue. I think we should have, whether it's an independent, whether it's, not that I'm for socialism or communism or I don't care, the love party, pick it, I don't care. But I think we should have more than two parties because there's people with good ideas that just get stifled. And if, like I said, if I run as on the love party as an independent for president and I get, like I said, 80% of the popular vote, I'll get no votes in the Electoral College. So I would like to see that change, but it won't matter because when the monarchy takes over next year, there won't be elections anymore. So, it doesn't really matter. And the Democrats are literally just giving it to them. So kudos to you. And I think, that's an issue on the local level. And I'm going to say, like I said before, from the locals all the way to the president, I think they need to be tested. I think they need to go through a psych evaluation. They need to have a civil service test. It's kind of like if you want to be a police officer or even a mailman, what do? They make you take a test and then they do a psychological evaluation of you. Okay. And nothing against police or mailmen because they're important and we need them. But if you're the head of, whether it's a county or a city or our United States, or you're a senator, congressman, you have that we need to test you. We need to see if you have some brain cells. We need to see, are you mentally stable? I don't care about your sexuality. Don't care if you watch porn. I don't care if you molest colleagues. Don't care. I just need to know that you are mentally capable to do that job and that you could pass a basic, I would love them to take a test like we make people that want to become American citizens. Like here's the American history and here's world history. Take a test just to see if because it's America, as long as you get 20%, we'll let you run, but it really should be like 80. Just like to see if they have a brain. And I'm going with they probably don't. And that's the scary part.
But this speaks to the point I'm making. This is it comes across. I hear why people might be object to this way of thinking because I'm excluding people. I'm saying I'm not excluding people. What do we why do we vote? We vote because we want things presumably to be better than they are. We want to change for the better. Is that not? Would that be a simple Would that be fair to say, why would you vote? Because you don't like X and you want Y. Is that true? Would that be true? Or you like X and you want to keep X? So, right, okay. It's an expression of your intent or your desire, but I am saying that if you don't know, like you just described the Uber thing in Austin where they manipulated the yes and the no's. So what's happened is, if I really care about you as a voter, I want to make sure that you have a chance to express what you want in an informed way.
Right.
Now, what if you're not informed? What if you're not someone who is going to take the time? I need to protect you. Now, we could argue who gets to protect. Well, someone who's more informed, for starters. Someone who, in other words, I go back to the Brexit thing because this is no judgment on the voters. This is no judgment on what people voted for at all. If people said, "Oh, well, not enough people voted," well, that's tough. It was a small turnout, and the majority of the people that turned out voted for Brexit. That is what happened. Period. Done. Brexit was voted for. And then afterwards, the politicians and the leaders realized this thing's going to be a screw up. And now we have, I mean, David Cameron, I get back to this. This is all about this informed decision. It's not about denying people's rights. It's about ensuring that they get their say. But I'm saying that, oh my God, if you don't know what's going on, it's impossible for you to have a proper say. So you find someone that you trust and believe, and you stick them in that room. It's kind of what voting is. You kind of, so you say, listen, John, listen, Steve, I don't know anything about Brexit. Nothing. Zero. You're a businessman. You're a trader. You've got years of experience on the stock exchange. You bought and sold businesses. Clearly, you are more informed to make this decision than I am. And I nominate you to go and whatever you think. Whatever you think is correct, I will vote for that. But if I go in there, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm saying, no, but hang on. No, you should. I think you should, your intent, your will should be reflected in some way. So this is the weird thing. I'm actually saying this process could be more inclusive because a lot of people, you're right, they don't vote. They go, I don't know what's going on. And they don't vote. So we don't get their intent. They don't get a say, which is what I'm saying, that a qualified vote, or where only certain people get to vote that are more informed, could actually help you. So you nominate someone, or you say, this is the guy I want to go and vote on my behalf. So let's say there's 10 people and they find the smartest one, and he or she gets to vote.
That's the Electoral College. That's the Electoral. No, that's so that doesn't. Well, no, that's theoretical. That's the Electoral College.
Not really, Steve. It's not. They just didn't want big cities dominating rural areas.
That's the process, right? So it's almost like a super majority vote. Like I'm going to represent 100 people.
I can see what for me. It's not the same thing. Even in the country, right? We take one guy. We take this. We take one guy. We're looking at the person. Yeah, maybe there's some overlap, but it's not the same principle. For me, in every community, if there's 10 guys, you get the comic, you get the sportsman, you get the academic. You know, you've heard of that. You get the smart person, the one who knows what's going on, the one who couldn't give a shit, and so on and so forth. So the guy who cares, the guy who's taken the time to read, who doesn't necessarily party every Saturday night, actually reads and studies and knows what's going on. We all decide, okay, he's the guy. By a majority vote, we decide he's the guy who's going to cast the vote for us. Then he goes along, not quite the same as the Electoral College vote, but I can see why you might think that. It's not the same. This is nominating someone who actually is representing your interest to make that vote. Electoral College is more about numbers. It's more about numbers. Look, I'm not going to speak about the Electoral College because I'm not doing that. But
I understand what you're saying. So to me, I think what I would rather see happen is I would rather see, and people don't watch television or watch anything anymore unless it's 30 seconds, but I think I'd rather almost have it where someone comes on and goes, okay, here's the 26 things you're voting on, and we're going to tell you all about them. And somebody does, like, vote number, this is what they want to do. Here it is. This is what it says. If you vote yes, this is what happens. If you vote no, this is what happens. Number two, when you do that, it's so everybody can vote. Unfortunately, I think almost that's the way you have to do it. I think if you go into this, we're going to have one person represent 100 person and make a vote, then, you know, it's like, if I know that you're going to represent, that your vote is X, and I have like a Congress or a senator, and I have a vested interest, and I'm an oil company, for example, or whoever, I can be like, hey, let's go to dinner. Hey. So, and that's going to be the problem, because as pure as your idea is, no, not really. As pure as your idea is, they will find a way to corrupt it. So you really do have to do one person, one vote.
Okay, well then I go back to my original thing where I believe that only certain people should be able to vote. Then because I think that the majority of people, and it's a hypothetical. Remember, I'm not saying let's just do this tomorrow, or I'm not even saying it'll ever happen. This is just a bit of fantasy going on. I am saying we have the shitty candidates we have the messes we have, because we've got too many unqualified people in office voted by people who don't know what the hell they're voting for. They wouldn't know. If I said to the average person who'd never run a business, listen, I need you to go in and decide who the CEO of this company is going to be, they wouldn't have a clue. They wouldn't know what the CEO, the person who wanted to be CEO of that company, would hoodwink the shit out of them. And they wouldn't know, oh, look at this fancy pamphlet. Look at me in a suit. I'm here in a suit. Look at this fake degree I've got. You should nominate me as the CEO. That's what politicians are doing. They're the smooth talking people who go out there and they tell people what they want to hear. That's all they do. That is all they do. That is all they do. They go out and they hoodwink people. People go, oh, I like that. That's shiny and bright. Ooh, that's great. Now, what I'm saying is that I'm going to go back to the company thing. If companies across the world, right, they said, listen, we're not going to decide who the CEO is. We're going to go, and the CEO is decided by. In fact, it is a bit of a proxy system, isn't it? But you're within companies, they don't. It's not like Monday morning they say, right, everybody, we're going to send out an email to everyone in the company, the top, the big brass, all the way down to the guy who literally polishes the floor. You are all going to get to decide who the boss of this company is. And the thing is, for me, once you get down below about 20% in that organogram, no one knows what the hell's going on. They don't. Right. Why should they? Why would they care? They don't care. They don't run the company. They don't know about budgets and forecasts and actuarial this and whatever strategy. That they either they don't care or they're not included, whatever it is. Right. But now someone comes to them and says, you've got to decide who's going to run all this. And they go, okay, boom. I have to decide. I have to vote. And they go.
Bob bought me donuts. I'll vote for Bob. Right. Yeah.
Right.
But that's what I said earlier. Wouldn't it be better?
They can easily be bent in any direction this group of top brass want. And I'm saying, I'm saying is that throughout that organogram, your electoral college is different. I'm saying throughout on every level of that hierarchy, there needs to be a person that is selected. Now, how they selected, how many are selected is up for debate. But I'm saying you've got to have people, because if they elect the wrong person, the company goes bust. Bang, done, finished. They rape the company and they leave. Not unlike some countries around the world where the leaders have come in. Go look at Equatorial Guinea. You've got 3 people running that country, keeping all the money, while 95% of the people live in poverty. Right. And so it goes on. I just point to that as an example.
I think I would rather just have the politicians have to take a test. I think I'd rather let everybody still have their vote, because that's what I don't think it's a bad thing.
Who administers that test? Steve?
I think I would administer the test. No. I think it has to be a civil service test. I think it's a civil service test, like you give police and postmen and firemen, and you say, but with that, or you give a person who wants to become an American citizen. I think you literally give them almost a citizen, like this is what local government is, or this is what's going on. Now, if I'm running, it's different if I'm running Los Angeles or New York or whatever, where I not only have to know local U.S. history, but I kind of have to know world history. But if you're running in Austin, I guess to an extent, but if you're running a little nothing town in the middle of nowhere, and you're really just worried about like the cotton yield, then I would just give them a basic standard. Here's a test. Okay, we know that they have IQ points, they qualify. Then you do some psychological exams, so you know they're not going to, you know, that they don't have problems, and they're going to decide that everybody should be wearing white sheets tomorrow, type of thing. And they don't think they're a king. And then it's, at least we have a base, right? Then I know who I'm voting for lack of a better term, is qualified, and not every Tom, Dick, and Harry then can run. Because if that's the case, then, you know, we have this two-party system for the presidency, which is ridiculous. And on the local level, it's kind of the same, but independents will win, and this one will win, and that one will win. So I'm saying, do it that way. Forget if you're a Republican or a Democrat. That's all bullshit now. That's all thrown away. Let's just see if you're smart enough to run, whether it's a country or a city or whatever, and go from there. And I think that would be interesting. You know, I'm not good.
Yeah. I want to say, and I understand why you go back to that, but I am deliberately steering away from an American model, because I still find the two-party system ludicrous.
Oh, I don't like that part. I don't like that.
There's a guy called, I'll think of him now. I saw him on one of these chat shows. A guy called, I think his name's Jacobs, AJ Jacobs or something. He's a pretty well-known author, and I think the book is something about constitution, living constitutionally or something. Very good book. And he was on one of these shows, and he spoke about, if you want to reference an American situation, he was talking about how the founding fathers never envisaged a two-party system. They envisaged tribal systems going on, like the legislative and what are your three tiers of government? What are the government levels?
We have judicial, legislation, and
within each department there might be little factions, but never two parties. First of all, not just two parties, and also this national tribal divide. They never envisaged that. So, for instance, I remember what the guy did say was, they never thought the Constitution was perfect. Absolutely. They wrote it as a document that was supposed to be amended, and it was supposed to be changed over time, hence the amendments. And what's interesting, to your point, I didn't really want to go down the American route, but I'll just go down a bit quickly. For the last, I don't know, several decades, there have been no real changes to the Constitution. Amendments have flatlined, they've gone away. Many have been rejected. It used to be a document that changed a lot. Not so much anymore. It's kind of, it's not a scripture. It's not a piece of scripture. It's supposed to change. That's the way it was written. Not a two-party system, more parties, not so much parties. I mean, Washington, I read his speech when he left office. He said, avoid parties. This is what happens. We got away from what? He would be in his grave right now. You know, it's not the way it's supposed to work. Anyway, but that's the American system. I'm not talking about that, because here we've got 1,000 parties, which isn't good either. Although what we have is we've got all the little ones settling like this, and we've got probably 4 or 5 that are sitting at the top, which I'm kind of happy with. I think that's okay. I think 5 is a good number. 5, 6 parties for me is a good number. More than that, and you start looking like, I don't know, Switzerland or here. And less than that, then start looking like you guys with your two-part. What if you don't? What if you're not a Republican or a Democrat? What if you don't align with what's your Kennedy? Good Lord.
No,
fine.
The Love Party.
The Love Party.
The Love Party that was starting. That's it.
But as you said, Steve, you do have more parties, but they have absolutely no clout in terms of the Electoral College. So they might as well not exist.
Unless you're local level. Local level different. And as you work your way up, like Bernie Sanders is an independent. So you know you can make it to the Senate or the Congress as an independent. But when you get to that next level, you either A or B. And that's not
the way. Can I just say, and I know people will disagree, obviously they will. And no, Bernie is not perfect. But I have to say, I've listened to him and watched him. And when I lived in the States, he was shouting about, and I'll tell you something about him, which is interesting, is if you look at Joe Biden from 40 years ago, he's a different man. He's full of fire and brimstone. I've seen old videos of him. Fire, boom, 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 boom. Very sharp. Not really the guy now. No. Bernie, on the other hand, same. He looks older, but the brain is just,
Yeah.
he is as sharp as a tack. He is.
Yeah.
You may not like him. You may not necessarily agree with him. You may think he's a socialist or whatever the hell you think he is, but you cannot argue with the fact that that man is on point. He is sharp. Wow.
And with that, the show's coming to an end. There you
Yes.
go. 45 minutes.
There you
We
go.
decided we're going to short format. Everyone, thank you for watching or listening. You can catch the podcast. If you don't want to look at our pretty faces, go to Two Old Farts Making Noises and look for Vaguely True. And you won't see us, you'll hear us. Or you can catch us here every Sunday morning. And we'll talk about something I'm sure interesting next week as well. And Bernie, you have our vote, just FYI. Yes.
And for the love of God, don't take anything we say too seriously. And if you got a complaint, file it in bin 13. Thank you very much.
Send it to David if you're going to complain. And the only thing you should take seriously is that we are going to start the love party. Orgies for everybody, as long as you're over 21. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to this Rolled Woods Robb Vega, whatever the hell he wants to call himself, fellow. You know, this podcast thing, it makes him feel very important, and he's a difficult fellow as it is to deal with. So thank you so much for putting up with him, and do take care.